is the ability to add two different numbers. There are multiple ways that you can add numbers. In this Excel sheet that we have in front of us, we have a table in which we have one column that has names. Then we have a second column that has a bonus 1 and the third column that has bonus 2. What we want to do is we want to calculate a total, and then we want to calculate an average. We also want to calculate the maximum value, the minimum value, and we want to show the total number of values. So the most simplest way of doing a total is you put in an equal to sign. If you were to do it just mathematically, what you would do is you put in an equal to sign, and you can see up here, this is the equal to sign right here. Then you would do left click once, twice, and come to the cell that you want to add. We want to add D4, and we want to add it to E4. So we put in the plus sign, and then we click left one more time, and we have the total of D4 and E4. Now, if I bring my mouse to the lower right corner of this cell, and I double click on the cell, it automatically copies the formula down to the last cell that has a value on its left. So if there was no value in this cell, I will cut and paste the value down here, and I didn't have and if I try to copy the formula down again, and if I double click down here on the lower right corner, it will only come as far as the last cell that has a value in it. So we do need to have a value in this cell. What we looked at here was just a simple addition. We took two different cells, we added them. Another feature that Excel offers is the sum feature, which is the sum function. You put in an equal to sign, then you type in sum, and then put in a left bracket, then put in the first value that you want to add, then put in a comma, and the second value that you want to add, and put in a right bracket, and you hit enter. It gives you the same answer. You can see that in this formula it is set up so that it's able to take multiple different values. We can also use a range. If you type in equal to sum left bracket, then come to the first value that you want to add, hold down the shift key and hit the right arrow, and the cell automatically selects the next value. So now you can see the range goes from D4 to E4, and then you put in the right bracket and you hit enter, and then you double click on the lower right corner, and then double click again for the last cell so that the formula is copied for throughout your throughout your range. Now, another feature to note about Excel is that if you wanted to, right now the reference from these cells is a relevant reference. What that means is that as the formula was being dragged down, the reference in the formula became relative to the cell that the formula was in. So for instance, right now the formula is in F4. It's referring to D4 and E4. When the formula goes to F5, it refers to D5 and E5. And so on. When it goes to F6, it refers to D6 and E6. Now what Excel offers is that if you put a $sign, now each reference has a column and a row. And then on the right hand side as well, there's a column and a row. In this case, its column is D4 and row is 4. The column is D, row is 4. And the second reference is column is E and row is 4. So if you put a $sign next to each one of the references, for instance D4, D and 4, now we have fixed the reference to column D and line 4. And we will also fix the reference for column E and line 4. And now if I copy this formula down, it's an absolute reference, so it does not change and all the values are the same. However, we don't need an absolute reference, we need a relative reference. We will delete the $signs from our cell, and then we will hit enter. And so right now the sum function has calculated the sum of these two columns. Now we are also able to calculate the average. You can calculate the average mathematically. The mathematical way of calculating the average would be you put in an equal to sign, put in a left bracket, put in the first value, put in the plus sign, add the second value. So you see the reference in this is not correct. We put equal to left bracket, first value, plus sign, second value, right bracket, divided by 2, and you hit enter, and it calculates the average. This is just the mathematical average. What Excel offers is it offers us an equal to, it has an average function. So what you do is you type in average, and you put in a left bracket, and then the numbers that you want to take an average for, you can put it in as a range. So there for D4 and E4, then you put in the right bracket, you hit enter, and then you double click on the lower right corner, and the average is copied all the way down to all the cells. So we have calculated the total, we have calculated the average. So we will make the total bold, and we'll make the average bold as well. So now we also want to maybe color code these a little bit differently. We'll highlight this column, and we'll change the color to blue, and for the averages we'll highlight the column and we'll change the color to green. Now what we want to do next is we want to calculate the max, min, and count. So we will calculate the max for the total column, and we'll calculate the min for the total column. What that means, it will give us the maximum value in the total column, and it will give us the minimum value in the total column. So we click equal to, type in max, left bracket, and then we give it a range, and then the right bracket, and you hit enter. So as you can see, the range went a little bit further out. It included this last cell. So once we highlight, now the way to bring the range back to the specific area that you want is you can just bring your mouse to the lower right corner, and you see how the mouse changes its shape, and then click on it and bring it up, and now the reference has gone from F4 through F13, and you hit enter, and it gives us the maximum value. Now we want to calculate the min. The minimum value, you type in min, and the minimum value for the total column, we'll give it the same range, and then right bracket, you hit enter, gives us the min. Now if you wanted to calculate what the total number of values are in this column, what we can do is we can equal to, there's a count function, you put in the left bracket, and then you come to the cell, the row or column where you want to calculate the count for, give it the range, and put in the right bracket, hit enter, and it says there are 10 total values. Now these features are also visible here, down here. If you look at the bottom of your screen, you can see them. I'll make this a little bit smaller to have a better view. So now you can see that there is a this is a built-in function. You can't really refer to this in a formula. However, you can have a quick view of this, and this will tell you what you can have a certain number of values selected, and it will give you an answer for what those what the average, what the count, what the count nums and max and min and sum are. So we will calculate, so we know that we will just highlight the total column, and right now it's telling us that the sum of the total column is 199,385. Then we'll calculate the min, 18,503. You see 18,503. Then we'll look at the max, and the max is 21,199, and then so the count nums only counts numbers. So right now it says it's 10 numbers, and then just the count counts everything. So we'll highlight the whole column, and you see it says there are 11 in count. However, count nums is still 10 because there are only 10 numbers. Then if you wanted to calculate the average, We click on average and it gives us the average of this column. You can also compare the averages. We'll highlight D and E, these two cells, and the average is 9798, and it matches the average we calculated here separately, 9798. And then so we'll leave it back at sum. So these are just some of the basic functions of Excel that allow you to add different numbers and do an analysis. You can keep track of pretty much any kind of information you'd like to keep track of in Excel. This is the most commonly used feature in Excel, is the sum function, and it's used pretty regularly.